Assalamu alaikum, namaste, sat sri akal, shalom and good day. You are listening to Awaz Community Radio. And today on the radio, we'll be talking about lung cancer checks. Now, if you'd like more information before we talk to our guests, you can give us a call on 0161 839 9817. You can email us awazcommunityradio@gmail.com or catch us through the social media. We're on Facebook, just type in Awaz Community Radio, or tweet us at awazradio122. You're listening to Awaz Community Radio with your host Saira, and our guests today are Donna and Fabiola. Hi guys.
Hi.
Thanks very much for coming in. So as I said to our listeners, we're going to be talking about lung cancer checks today. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about where you're from and what you do?
Okay, my name, as you've already said, is Donna Miller. I'm a service delivery manager at BHA for Equality, and I'm currently supporting the Manchester Cancer Improvement Programme to do some work around lung cancer. But equally, my role is to work with Black and other minority groups and raise issues around health that affect those communities.
My name is Fabiola. I work for BHA for Equality. A community engagement and development worker, and my role is to raise awareness on HIV and sexual health within BME community in Greater Manchester. And the main purpose of our work is to promote testing for HIV.
That's great, thank you. And now I believe very soon there's going to be the opportunity for local people to come over and start talking a bit more about lung cancer.
Yes, there is. As I mentioned earlier, in Manchester at the moment there is a programme called the Macmillan Cancer Improvement Programme. And basically that means that there's just over 3 million that's being invested in the city to try and improve the outcomes in relation to cancer. And when I talk about cancer, we're really referring to both breast and lung cancer. So there's quite a lot of work that's being done by Macmillan, the 3 clinical commissioning groups that deliver health services in Manchester, and all the hospital trusts as well, and St Anne's Hospice is involved in that work as well. Really trying to look at ways of improving the quality of services to assist those people who are living with cancer. There's an awful lot of work that's already taken place around breast cancer, and the programme is at the stage now where they're actually looking at, how do we actually improve services for those that have lung cancer, and also, improving diagnosis of lung cancer as well. So one of the things that's actually been proposed is a new lung health check, and in order to assess how Macmillan actually go about that, and Macmillan and the other partners, what they want to do is to speak to a range of individuals in a discussion group really about a proposed new test, and also about the promotional materials about that test as well. And that's going to take place on the 25th of January at the Welcome Centre on Brentfield Avenue in Cheetham.
So what's the criteria for the participants that you'd like?
The criteria: individuals have to be aged 55 to 74, they have to be a smoker or an ex-smoker, they have to be registered with a GP in Manchester, and they mustn't have had lung cancer. So, if there are any individuals that fit into that category, they'd be very welcome to actually book a place to be involved in the discussion group. I have a number that they can call. That number is 0161 765 4004, and if they call that number they can book a place and then be involved in the discussion. It should actually take about an hour and a half just to gather their views, and that discussion group is going to be led by members of staff from Macmillan.
So, can you tell us a little bit to explain lung cancer? What is it?
I mean, lung cancer, it's like any other cancer. A cancer basically is a malfunction of the DNA cells. So instead of them actually developing in a uniformed way, they actually develop in a very random way. And that in itself can then manifest into, a tumour, for example. So, that's the basis behind any lung cancer, any cancer. But lung cancer, could potentially start in the windpipe, in the main airway, or actually in the lung tissue itself. At the moment, there's no sort of national screening programme for lung cancer. But, there are particular signs and symptoms that people actually need to look out for, although those signs sometimes don't necessarily manifest themselves. So it's things like if an individual has a cough, for quite a long time, there's a change in that cough and you may have it for a long time. You may be short of breath, you may cough up phlegm, and there's signs of blood in that phlegm. You may have an ache or pain in the chest or shoulder, a loss of appetite, tiredness, and also losing weight.
So it's very important that if you have any of those symptoms to get them checked out.
Most definitely. And, if you go to your GP and the GP, does some basic tests, sort of ask general questions about your health and well-being. I mean, if you are 40 and have two of those symptoms, or if you are a smoker or ex-smoker, then generally what happens is that, you'd be actually offered a chest x-ray.
Now, smoking plays a large role here, doesn't it, unfortunately?
It plays a very significant role because I think 8 out of 10 cases of lung cancer are actually caused by smoking. And the more you smoke, the more likely you are to get lung cancer, but it's about the length of time that you smoke. That's the most important thing. And I think that's why, there generally has been this huge push for individuals to start looking at their own health, and things like stopping smoking, making real attempts to do that. Cigarette smoking is the main cause of lung cancer, but equally if you smoke a pipe or if you smoke a cigar, you're equally susceptible to it, and also susceptible to things like mouth or lip cancer as well.
I'm glad that in recent years it's become more kind of acceptable not to be smoking. There's been a change in legislation and a change of society's values as well, really, the culture.
Most definitely. I think it's had a really significant impact. I mean, I remember the days when I used to travel on the train, for example, into Bury, before the trams were actually introduced, and used to have smoking and no smoking carriages. And I remember once the train arriving at Victoria Station and a door being opened from the smoking carriage, and all you'd have is smoke just bellowing out of the train. And that would be totally unacceptable now, And similarly on buses as well, where you used to get people smoking on buses.
What I especially liked was, smoking in non-smoking sections in restaurants.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
How does that work? Smoke still travels.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I was very much anti-smoking and, sitting and trying to have your meal in the non-smoking section.
Yes.
But then, really seriously, how did we think that actually worked?
I know. And I think that was one of the key sort of ideas, really, behind the setup of the Roy Castle Lung Foundation. Because Roy Castle was one of those individuals who was adamant, really, that passive smoking, affected everybody who was around that individual who was smoking. And he was one of those individuals who really campaigned, against that kind of thing. And now we actually have a foundation that's been set up in his name that is trying to, undertake research, do promotional work, in relation to lung cancer and its impact on individuals.
And for those listeners who don't know who Roy Castle was, he was actually a childhood hero of mine.
Ooh.
And actually he put me off smoking as a
Right.
child because he presented a programme called Record Breakers, and that was one of my favourite programmes.
Yes.
And when he passed away, it was obviously very sad, but to hear the reason, it was even more tragic. He never smoked.
Yes.
And he contracted lung cancer through passive smoking.
Yes.
And so I think when people around me were starting to smoke, or it was cool or whatever, for me personally, I was against it because it had robbed me of one of my childhood heroes. So could you remind our listeners a little bit more, just to remind them again really, about the discussion group that's going to be happening soon?
Okay, the discussion group will be looking at the new Lung Health Check service. It's going to be held on the 25th of January at the Welcome Centre on Brentfield Avenue in Cheetham Hill. If you would like to attend, please book a place and call 0161 765 4004. The criteria for attendance is very specific. You've got to be aged 55 to 74, be a smoker or an ex-smoker, be someone who's not had lung cancer, and be registered with a GP in Manchester.
That's great. That's really great. Thank you very much, Donna, for coming in to inform our listeners. And we can't leave without Fabiola telling us a bit more about the excellent work that you do too in the community.
Yeah. I work in a community as a community engagement and development worker, and actually my work is more outside the office than in the office. And the service we deliver are for all black and minority ethnic in Manchester. BHA is a champion as an organization working in sexual health within black and minority ethnic in whole Greater Manchester, and BHA has been doing this work for 25 years. Yeah. The work we do is to go in a community, raise awareness on sexual health and mainly on HIV for BME communities, because we understand those communities and we understand their culture. Staff members speak their languages as well, and we know how to deliver the information in a more sensitive way. And that's why we are more specialized in working in BME communities compared to other organizations who work in sexual health with other communities, but BHA does this work only within BME communities.
The BME communities can be quite hard to reach, can't they? We've often, this is the whole purpose of our radio station. It serves everybody, but especially we pride ourselves on trying to target and being able to reach those who are harder to reach. BHA has been working in the area of, that's why BHA is for equality in health and social care. So our role is to advocate for hard to reach or marginalized or disadvantaged communities. And we are proud that we have done that for many years, and we can see the results because we are more in the community, and we have made a change and impact in the community around sexual health.
I sometimes shake my head when I hear that term, hard to reach. And I actually think that there's a responsibility on statutory bodies that deliver health and social care service to make sure that they're actually providing good quality services to black and other minority groups. yes, you know, it's because an organisation like BHA has staff, you know, from various nationalities, various backgrounds. Some of those members of staff may have particular languages to be able to engage with those communities, but equally, you know, whether you work in a CCG or one of the major charities, you can employ staff like that as well. You know, and I think that communities shouldn't be hard to reach. It's about looking at your organisation and looking at the gaps that actually exist in the way in which you're providing that service and taking appropriate steps to be able to deal with that. So that in many ways, actually, they should be putting BHA out of business. Not that we want to be out of business, but do you understand what I mean? It's about making sure that there are equitable services that are being provided for all communities, whether you are a statutory health provider or whether you are one of the major charities, and that's not really happening at the moment.
I do agree. You're right. Hard to reach probably isn't the right phrase. Perhaps there's just different ways of reaching different communities, isn't it? That's the truth, isn't it? There's different ways to reach different people. So let's not just stick with the one way.
Exactly, and it's also acknowledging that individuals may not be using certain services as they should be, who are black or from a minority group, because of the fact that they have faced racism and discrimination in the past. So they kind of hold back a little bit.
And there are bridges to build.
Exactly, yes. And I think that's a really important issue to raise. Yeah.
So how can people access BHA services?
To access BHA services, we have contact numbers, and communities can contact us anytime, and even with a short notice. And the kind of services we deliver in the communities are like one-to-one information sessions, and we can even organize, or communities can organize like a group. We go there and give them, like, offer them a group session, which is a kind of awareness and information on where to go if they need an HIV test in a community. We take part in different events as well. If there is any event in Greater Manchester that is attended by Black and minority ethnic, we go there and give information to people on one-to-one basis as well. And how people can reach us or contact us if they need a BHA service, they can call us using our number, which is 0845 450 4247, or they can check online about our services on www.thebha.org.uk. And if they need to contact the sexual health team, they can email us on sexual health Manchester at thebha.org.uk. We are ready to reach the community even at a short notice, and anytime. We do weekend as well, late in the evening as well, anytime, and we can organize session in different languages spoken by BME communities.
I also just wanted to add that there are other services that BHA for Equality provides. So, for example, in terms of our outreach work, we have a programme of work where we actually raise awareness around prostate cancer, specifically focusing on Black, African and Caribbean men, because they're more at risk of getting prostate cancer. And that programme of work was called Time to Reason. We're attempting to actually set up a support network for Black men who are living with prostate cancer as well. So that's a piece of work that's actually ongoing. In addition to that, we have a service where we target the Roma community and looking at supporting Roma families for example, if they're having any issues around the education of the children, that kind of thing. And we also have an interpretation service as well, that's available for individuals that want to make use of it. So there are a whole range of services that BHA actually provides, in addition to the work that we're doing on lung cancer and also around sexual health.
That's great. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate you both taking time out of your busy schedules, and you do a lot of great work in the community. Thank you very much, Fabiola and Donna.
Thank
and
you.
Welcome.
all the best, Fabiola, with the
Thank
community
you.
work, and Donna, all the best with the discussion group with the lung cancer checks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so listeners, I hope you've taken that information down. If you weren't able to catch it, please do get in touch with us and we can give you information that you need. Give us a call on 0161 839 9817. We're also on Facebook. Just type in Awaz Community Radio. And Twitter, it's at Awaz Radio 122. That's our Twitter handle. Now, thank you very much for listening. Make sure you are getting yourself checked regularly. Get yourself down to discussion groups, because there are no negatives to this whatsoever. You can only gain, and that's a good thing. Okay, thanks again to Donna and Fabiola today, and thank you for listening. Take care.